So Unlock Democracy is an organisation which campaigns for basically greater democracy, participation, transparency and openness in politics. So we run a number of different campaigns, and this year we've been running a series called Unlock Magna Carta, which is based on the 800 years since Magna Carta, and we've wanted to move the discussion forward to make it a progressive project, to get people involved and to do some outreach and say, okay, the last 800 years was great. Let's think about the next 800 years, let's move the discussion on. And part of that is just outreach, involving more people in the discussion and saying, you have ideas, you have opinions, you can do democracy, you can do this now. So it's really been using that momentum, and there's been a lot of momentum this year, politically, socially, there's been a lot going on, obviously accentuated by social media and how these new technologies are evolving. And we've just thought, actually, we're going to take it back to basics and bring people together face to face. A number of different events. We've been all over the UK. We've had, this will be our 13th event, and we're going to have 14. And we're hoping that through those events, new ideas sprout. So new relationships form and new people come together and really start to do democracy in whatever way they feel is most important to them.
But we're here for a whole load of personal, local, political, global, national issues. We're here because we don't want our town centres to become clone towns. You know, we're here because we don't want our schools to be exam factories. We're here because we don't want our NHS to treat us like we're not human beings. We're here because we have climate change out of control. We're here because kids can go to university for 4 years, end up with £40,000 of debt and never, ever, ever get anywhere near the housing ladder. We're here for so many reasons. And what do all those reasons tell us? They tell us that our democracy isn't working.
And so what's happening in Frome? Actually, local politics is sort of where it's at. You can affect change more. You don't have to follow rigid party lines.
To refer about those people in power who use power to bring more power to themselves and not to do any more politics, and not for their common good, not for that really, it's just for really gaining a lot of power for themselves. So I think that's the first thing that was really well done by Podemos.
And with IF, we found that by getting together a group of very kind of different people with different skills, different experience, and even different political standpoints, we actually made a really strong case for acting locally.
My name's Sylvia Dunn. I'm from Seaford in East Sussex, and I've formed a minor party called IFS on the back of the Frome sort of foundation, and here today to answer some democratic, unlocking democracy questions.
I came here because it's organised around what we've done in Frome, and I really want to see what else is going on out there in the country, what else is happening elsewhere. Is what we've done being replicated, and is it being done differently? Because there's no reason why our model should be the model to follow.
We formed a group similar to Flat Pack Democracy back in April, and we took 9 seats on our local town council. It was probably the first time there's been an election for several decades in Buckfastleigh, and now we're in a majority. We are pursuing the issues that we see most important in the town.
The problems that we're facing as a society, as a country, as the whole world are so complex that people tend to shy away from them, when actually we should be getting active, becoming active citizens.
So the other thing that's interesting here is that there isn't a sort of a chair and a committee and people speaking from the stage. It's much more a networking side of it, facilitators, this sort of thing, which, having been involved in many campaigning groups over the years, is a brilliant way to run things. It gets everybody, it gets a bit of buy-in, they get to say their piece, they feel like they're more a part of it.
The big problem we had here was that the town council worked like all other town councils of 30 minutes at the beginning of the meeting, you have 3 minutes if you've got an issue, and don't you dare say anything in between, because we're not going to listen to you.
We don't need political parties. They're a modern construct that don't represent the people in the constituency, they represent themselves. Party whips, they're only there for their own benefit. We need people that represent the people.
He's real, he seems to actually, and I hope it's true, but have real values, and it's like, you just don't see that in the party machine. That's why he's really... So I think there is a real desire for something more real that's not just being whipped into place.
If there's something you feel you haven't answered, that, you know, if there's a particular little subject you want to take up, stick it on the board, and then, you know, I or one of the others can, or, you know, we can take part in that as a you know, we can hopefully finish that off. So don't feel this has to be it.
I'm a political journalist by trade, but my stock answer when people say, well, what do you write about, or what do you make films about? I always say I make films about that gap, and I write about the gap between politics and real life. And what today, in these amazing conversations that happened all through the afternoon in various ways, what they underline to me is that politics isn't those 3 or 4 parties. It's not these strange people on the TV who talk in riddles about tough choices and hard-working families. When politics comes alive, it's at things like this, when people talk about their lives and about power and how you take it back and where they live and all that.
So the main part about organising today was that we tried to create structures and ways of working and places to sit which would allow people to take the agenda. So obviously that requires a bit of organisation in itself, but once you've got the bare bones of it, the best time to step back is when you see people taking it on themselves, and they will only do that if you step back. So the main thing was that we were very conscious of this as facilitators. We really wanted to enable people to do this, and so we created the open space session was the time where people most engaged with setting the agenda, but obviously this happened in the working group as well, that people were able to just pick up the baton and run with it. And that happened through a great, brilliant team of facilitators who have a lot of experience. But also, the main thing was that people just responded to that really well, and that people did jump in, people did put themselves on the line and actually take risks and speak out.
Well, there are people from all over the country and from Scotland, and the representatives from Podemos in Spain, and you just get a feeling of a real grassroots activism happening. People with really exciting new ideas to share, successes in different towns in the country.
All of these people have come from all over the country to talk about where they live, how it relates to politics, and how you make change happen. So you're not going to put that back in its box. And because we've got social media now, everybody stays in touch, and it's the start of a process. And I don't know where it's going to go, but whatever happens, it'll be exciting, it'll be inspiring, and it will change things.
Just hugely, massively inspiring. You get all of these people from all sorts of different places, from here in Frome and around, just realising what they can do when they kind of come together. They know that they're the people they've been waiting for. They stop waiting for other people to do it for them, and they discover their sense of self-organisation and creativity. And everyone's going to go away from this event today, I think, with a greater level of confidence, awareness, connections about what they can do in their towns and their cities, about making them, better places.
Yeah, so there's a number of different ways this can go forward, and I do hope, as well as the idea of setting the agenda, people use that impetus in ways that they feel is important to them. So, in Frome, there's a lot going on already. I hope we've added to that. I hope we've given more grist to the mill. I hope we've given more momentum. But also beyond that people can network now, that people can find those, after having met each other face to face, people can find each other online, people can talk to each other across the country, and maybe make this process go faster and reach more people. I think that's really the important thing. And of course, social media helps with that. I hope people will also meet face to face more too, because as we've seen today, there's really nothing to replace that meeting people face to face. And I also hope that people individually take things forward, that people have the confidence to feel, hey, that person did it, she didn't know what she was doing to start with, neither do I'm going to do it too. So I think those are the ways that people can stay involved. But I hope, we didn't give a top-down approach to that. People will come up with their own ways, and people are ingenious like that, so they will.
It's actually not that difficult to take power in councils. There are some specific problems which make it difficult in certain situations. But in our district, 48 out of the 53 councils weren't even contested. This is really, really something which people can do. They really can engage and then actually find themselves in positions of power and do stuff.
I think the thing I've got most from today is the power of the grassroots, how many communities are in this position, and the message I'd give is just do it, because if you don't do it, who is going to do it?
Attend your town council and committee meetings, go and see how they operate and ask questions, ask loads and loads of questions.
Get Peter McFadden's book on flat pack democracy, find out what we did here and do it where you are.
So yeah, just seeing other people at this event talking about how they've gone out and become local councillors themselves and not had to align to any particular political party. It's got me thinking that maybe might do that myself.
I think it's great to see so many people here who are really engaged. You know, some who know what they're doing, some who want to find out what they're doing, some who disagree. It's like, this is democracy.